Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Whitney Davidson Rhodes, and I am the associate manager here at NYPL. And I just want to welcome everyone for today's author talk. And I have the privilege of introducing Teresa Jones, the YA librarian at the Pelham Parkway Van Ness branch. We will be in conversation with our special guest, Jumata Emil, to talk about his latest YA novel, Wander the Dark. Uh, sorry, that is not the title. Apologies.
No, it is.
Oh, it is.
Wander in the dark.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I read something. Start over. So, thank you so much, everyone. Um, Lost my place. I apologize. I also want to say a big thank you to all attendees. You could be doing a number of other things right now, but you're here with us today during this virtual event. We welcome folks of all ages, teens, adults, and educators alike for today's exciting and compelling conversation. And after our discussion, there would be some time for Q&A. I will be monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions that come up during the conversation, please post in the Q&A box, which I will tell you about in the next slide. And we will do our best to get all of your questions. In our Q&A chat, we ask that you please be mindful and adhere to the library's rules and regulations, and please be respectful to all attendees and panelists. And just a reminder that this event is recorded, but you, the viewer, are not. Next slide. Wonderful. So for those that are not familiar with Zoom, here are just some features that most Zoom comes with. But we do ask that if you are not speaking, please keep yourself muted just to prevent any ambient noise. Though I apologize in advance if you hear some dogs barking. My neighbors have a very chatty dog. Adorable, but not great for these types of conversations. So just to go through some features, we have the mute and unmute, which is the microphone icon. You can always show your camera or not. You will see Tabrija's and mine's face. You can, again, utilize the chat to make any comments, questions, or hopefully no concerns. And you can always show how much you're enjoying this conversation and others by using the reactions icon. And we also have live transcripts if for whatever reason you are having trouble following along with anything we are saying today. And for whatever reason, if you have to leave, you can click the leave and exit button to the far right. Next slide. Wonderful. So, how to get books. The New York Public Library has reopened most of its branches, except those undergoing improvements. We are offering full service, including general library use, seating, unlimited browsing, laptop and computer access, and so much more. Please visit our website, nypl.org, to learn more, and also visit the links I entered into the chat for the NYPL branch closest to you. You can go to any open library and sign up for a physical library card, but if you don't feel comfortable, perfectly understandable, you can use our Simply E app, which is the gray, green, blue E on the slide, available to download through Apple and Android for free. With your library card, you can make a request to place a book on hold before you visit a branch, like Jumata's books. And if you are using the app, you can place a digital hold for an ebook or audiobook. And great news, since October 2021, all late fees and fines have been eliminated, and all existing fines and fees in the patrons on patron accounts have been cleared. You can learn more through our policy change that reflects on how everyone is getting a clean slate through our website, nypl.org. Goodbye fines. I know this is a lot of information about your our library services and programs. So if you need help navigating all of this, please contact Ask NYPL at 917 Ask NYPL or email gethelp@nypl.org. You can call your local branch during opening hours, and a friendly voice will be there to offer guidance. So, February is Black History Month. Happy Black History Month to everyone. And as we at the New York Public Library celebrates Black History Month throughout February, we have several events and programs, recommended reading lists, blog posts, and a wide array of resources for all ages. So I just want to highlight some upcoming programs. If you're looking for more to attend, here are some great upcoming programs for the month of February that might interest you. We have a virtual book tasting between Tabrisia and a couple of other branches throughout NYPL and our colleagues. We have a upcoming author talk with Daniel Warren Johnson, and we have a virtual comics chat and another partnership between branches amongst the across the system. We have 100 programs each week and something for everyone. So make sure that you look at our offerings. So, excuse me. Now I will now pass it along to Tabrisia to introduce our featured author. So without further ado, take it away, Tabrisia.
Thank you, Whitney, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tarisha Jones, and I am the young adult librarian at the Pelham Parkway Van Ness branch located in the Bronx. And I have the extreme pleasure of introducing our special guest today, YA author Jumata Emill, to talk about his latest book, Wander in the Dark. So thank you so much, Jumata, for joining us this afternoon.
Well, no, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Great. So I just want to give a short bio of our special guest speaker. So Jumata Emill is a journalist who has covered crime and local politics in Mississippi and parts of Louisiana. He earned his BA in mass communications from Southern University and A&M College. He's a Pitch Wars alum and member of the Crime Writers of Color. When he's not writing about murderous teens, he's watching and obsessively tweeting about every franchise of The Real Housewives. Jumata lives in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I think you would like our friend Adina because she is obsessed with The Real Housewives as well.
Listen, I'm not ashamed about it at all.
I mean, I like for me, I'm not a big fan of reality TV, but I love reading about it. And I just see like the cat fights and stuff like that. I was like, I'm intrigued, but I'm like, do I want to
I
watch
love
it?
it. It's just like mindless fun. Like, especially because as a journalist, I cover so many heavy topics sometimes in the day. And then, I'm writing at night about heavy topics sometimes that when I watch TV, I just want to watch some like dumb entertainment. And listen, I just love rich women's problems.
That's exactly what she said. It's like it's rich people's problems. Like I know.
Yeah, let's just watch it. Yeah, I love it. Like,
So except for being a big fan of Real Housewives and rich people's problems, you're also a writer. And congratulations on your release of your second book, Wander in the Dark,
thank
which
you.
was really, really good. I finished it
Oh,
last night. I was just rushing through. I was like, I need to know who it is. I need to
oh.
know. And I thought who I knew it was, and then you just did a switch. I was
Well,
like,
I've done my job. Perfect.
so for those who are in our audience who have not had a chance to read Wander in the Dark, could you give us a brief synopsis of the book?
Yeah, sure. Wonder in the Dark is about estranged half brothers, Amir and Marcel Trudeau. On the final night of Mardi Gras, which we call in New Orleans Mardi Gras Day or Fat Tuesday, more widely known, Marcel is having his 16th birthday party. Amir shows up there not to celebrate his brother's birthday, but in order to possibly hook up with his brother's best friend, who is a girl named Chloe that they go to school with. And Chloe's going through some things, but Amir kind of gets caught up in her whirlwind. Hangs out with her that night. Her parents are away. She asks us that she kind of doesn't want to be alone, and she's very flirty with him, and he's a guy. So, of course, hey, let's see what happens. But he falls asleep on her sofa and wakes up during the middle of the night to find Chloe stabbed to death in her bedroom. And Amir panics and just runs away. And unfortunately, through those darn Ring doorbell cameras, a neighbor captures him running away from the scene of the crime. He's identified and later arrested. And one of the only people who believes in his innocence is his brother, Marcel, who then tries to find out who really killed Chloe in order to save his brother. And in doing that, Marcel also sees it as an opportunity to kind of repair their fractured relationship and their fractured family. And so there's a lot of drama, a lot of twists and turns, a lot of family drama. Most YA doesn't have a lot of drama with the parents. There's a lot of drama with the parents. And as what you just said, I guess a satisfying conclusion.
It was. And then also, and I loved how you started talking about the family drama, because the mystery aspect was great. I loved it, but my favorite part was the family drama, especially the relationship with Marcel and Amir, because you don't see a lot, like, with sibling relationships, it's either a sister or brother, or two sisters. You don't
Mhm.
see a lot of not only two brothers, but two half brothers.
Right.
And the how you dived into that relationship was just really, it was absorbing for me, especially since I'm an only child, and I don't I don't sibling relationships always fascinate me, because I'm like, I don't know how it really goes, because I was always alone for most of my life. So that was my favorite part, like the relationship between Marcel and Amir, how it gradually grown from the beginning, was fractured, and then, not to give anything away, but there is a satisfying conclusion. Like,
Yeah.
there's room for growth, to
Yes.
like to say yes.
And I think one of the important, so full disclosure, I got the idea for this book. One of the inspirations for this book was there was this old, I'm telling my age a little bit here, but there's this old UPN show. It was called Half and Half. It was like a half-hour comedy.
I remember that show. You're not
Yes.
showing your age. I remember that show.
Yes. And so I was doing revisions for my first novel, The Black Queen, and Netflix had just put the entire catalog of episodes on their streaming service. And I used to love the show. So I just binge was watching it. And one day I was watching it and I was like, this would be a great premise for a story, but if I added a murder to it. But
Mhm.
I also knew that I didn't want to have sisters. I wanted, like you said, to have brothers. Because so often we don't see the brother dynamic. And also, especially in YA, we don't see a lot of stories that are told from the perspective of Black boys. And not only, do Black boys, maybe they get to be like the trope, the innocent suspect, but I wanted them to also get to be the hero, that they get to save themselves. They don't need someone to save them. And so from there, I kind of just started to develop, this whole world. And I also felt like blended families in this day and age is something that a lot of people, kids, adults, could probably relate to and, find some familiarity with the characters.
Yeah. So you're not showing your age. I do remember UPN. And I do remember that TV show. And I did recently, when they put it on Netflix, I was like, oh yeah, could rewatch
Yes.
that.
It was one of my favorite shows. I used to love that show. And I loved it so much because it was one of those things where you didn't get to see a lot of shows where one, you saw like a black family that was like upper class and like, or it was just like it was really great to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got to also, yeah, they had their, kind of sort of dramatic pulls as well, but it was really great to see them just exist and have fun and have joy and not be
Mm-hmm.
about like trauma and like my black identity all the time. Like, they got to just have fun and fall in love and be sisterly. It was just really great. I just love the show. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and we didn't see a lot of that at the time.
no,
And then I think that's like why I really focus on the relationship between Marcel and Amir, because they were teaching each other something. Because like with Amir, he was teaching Marcel's like, listen, even you can be an upper class black African American, people still see the one thing, like you're black. And
right,
then with Marcel, with Amir, it's like you don't have to be angry all the time. It's like I'm here to help you. I am your blood, even though like it's half. So
yes,
they were just like it was they balance each other out, and it was just like such a great relationship to see. And it's like you said, you don't see that a lot in
right,
young adult literature, where boys are the focal point. And
right.
that's like another thing like I absolutely love about this book, like because it features boys as the main characters. So, like, and when I was telling Whitney about this book yesterday, um, and about Marcel and Amir, she made a good point. She's like, "Oh, it's just adults, just acting like a fool, and like just causing trouble." I was like, "Yeah, basically."
Yeah, I know. One of the things one of the messages that I wanted to convey with this story was that for teenagers is like a lot of times parents don't have the right answers. And oftentimes their children's actions are extensions of their horrible decisions. You know what I mean? And it kind of bleeds in, like you said, at the start of this story, you know, Amir is operating from a lot of the fallout from his parents' marriage. And just to kind of set things up for the viewers, they share a father, and the boy's father was married to Amir's mother's first, and he's a restaurateur. He was struggling. He's a cook in New Orleans, and they were a young couple, and Amir's mother, was like, "This restaurant is an albatross. You need to let it go." Basically, asking him to give up his dream because they were struggling so much. He didn't want to do that. He had an affair with Marcel's mother. And of course, that was the end of their marriage. Of course, Marcel is born, but then right around that time, their father hits it big and becomes like this celebrity chef. His restaurant takes off, and it's like Marcel and his mother got to benefit from everything, and Amir and his mother were kind of left behind. And Amir's mother was very bitter about that. And I think that she kind of put some of that into her son, which she shouldn't have done. She
Hmm.
should have allowed him to have a separate relationship. And that kind of bled over. And in the beginning, Marcel has a lot of his mother's resentment toward them as well, because of course the women don't get along for, understandable reasons.
Hmm.
But I think that the boys did share a love for their grandmother, their Nana, and she has passed away at the start of the story. But one of her dying wishes to Marcel was that you need to fix things with your brother. There's a lot of
Hmm.
things that he has a warped perspective of the fallout of his parents' marriage, or maybe the fallout and how his father views him, because Amir thinks that his father just got big and just left him behind, and Marcel is a perfect son and they have the perfect life, and so that bleeds into and instead of his mother being like, no, your father was this is what happened, she kind of let him think that because she wanted Amir to not like his father, because she was upset with him. And so that
Hmm.
happens so often. And I see so often how, like sometimes women will use, or maybe parents, not just women, men will do it too, will use children against their partner or, the parent. And it's a wrong thing to do because then the child is now warped into this. And I really wanted to explore that, like how these boys had to really just be the better adults and really start to try to fix things for their family. And there's so much emotion in this. And so I'm really glad that some of that is coming through. You're not the first person to tell me that, they got caught up in the family drama. And I did as well when I was writing the book. I would get so caught up in their stuff, like, oh, wait, I got to figure out who killed this girl.
Like, I have to do like, wait, this is a thriller. Let me focus on the thriller.
Right, exactly. I gotta solve this mystery. But I really did. I'm so glad that some of the heart is coming through the story, because that really was. I really wanted to give Black boys an opportunity, yes, to be the stars of the story, but also to show that, the show that Black boys can be sensitive. They can show emotion, with one another. And that was very important to me as well.
And yeah, and I definitely, because you can see like when Marcel is hurt by what Amir says to him, or even sometimes when Amir is trying to like control his emotions, but like what is happening to him when he's falsely arrested, and then also with his ongoing fraught relationship with his father.
Right.
And it's just like he's trying to keep his emotions, because it's like in that mind, it's like I can't do anything. I'm just like enclosing it. But
Exactly.
it just made like Marcel and Amir like really come out to me.
Okay.
And I was like, these are really realistic Black teenage boys, because they go through the emotions, especially now. And then especially what they're going through, with Chloe's murder. And the I don't want to give anything away, because the revelation is just, it was shocking. I was like, what?
I know.
It's time.
Listen. I don't. We're not gonna spoil too much, but I do want to
Yeah,
say that, yeah, I know what you're talking about, and it's like that's something that was ripped from the headlines. Like, you know,
I had a feeling I was
yeah, this
gonna.
is like
Yeah.
if this is, one of the other things about this story that I wanted to explore too was something that happens often now in this day and age, and that is BIPOC children who are attending predominantly white schools, especially with upwardly mobile Black families. A lot of times, of course, everyone wants their kid to have the best education, and oftentimes the best schools are in white suburban areas.
Mhm.
But some of the challenge with that is that you then put your child in a situation where they are automatically othered. And it's not always a great experience for a minority child, you
Mhm.
know. And so I kind of wanted to explore some of the issues that can come up with that, and you have Amir who already feels like an outcast. He going to this private, they go to this very elite private school, and he already feels like an outcast. That these are not my, I don't know these people. These are upper class people. I am different. I take up space here. I know that I don't belong. But then you have Marcel, his brother, who always grew up around wealth and privilege, and he feels like, well, these are my friends. They're just white. It's not a big deal. Like, I eat dinner, I shop at the same places they shop. I can afford all the things they can afford. I'm just like them. And then you have like basically ice water thrown on that situation to show you that, well, yeah, just because you're in this space doesn't mean everyone accepts you or everyone sees you as their equal. And that's kind of a gut-wrenching thing for Marcel to have to deal with. But also, you then find out in these spaces that you're putting them around children who are coming from families that may not teach them, tolerance and uh the importance of just like treating people like human beings. We hear this so often that, especially in the South where I am, there's a concerted effort by leaders in the state to not even have children learn about slavery, which is an ingrained part of American history. And their excuse is, well, we don't want white kids to feel guilty you know. But the thing about it is, when they don't learn that, when they don't learn the horrors that their Black friends, their grandfathers and grandparents had to face, then they think that things are a joke. They don't take things seriously. And then, so because you don't want your child to feel guilty, then BIPOC children are then subjected to their ignorance. And
Mhm.
then they are expected to rise above it
Mhm.
and be further traumatized. And we see it every day. I remember I seen like prom when I was doing research for this book, I saw like prom proposals where, you had white kids asking black kids and talking about like picking cotton and stuff with them. They thought this was the joke. And the idea was just a joke. It's not, they're not serious. And it's like, this is what the problem is that when white kids do things like this, they're told, well, it's okay, they'll grow out of their racism. It's just a phase they're going through. But I don't think it's always a phase. And I don't think that we should be letting that be okay because we never tell black children we because what will happen is that something like that will happen. A BIPOC child will respond to it, and then they'll be told that, well, your response is wrong. You shouldn't get mad. You shouldn't get physical. You can't disrespect people and then tell them how to respond to disrespect.
Right.
And so, how about we stop acting like this is okay? Let's stop acting like we want to gloss over this ugly part of American history when there's so many other parts of American history. We hear it all the time from white people. We must always remember 9/11. Oh, we want to always remember that, but we don't want to remember this other
Remember.
part of history because we don't want our kids to feel bad. Well, you feel that way because, and I love when people always say, well, that was a long time ago. That was literally my grandparents' era. This is not that that's not that long ago. And that's why you don't want them to know what their grandparents were involved in. They need to know, they need to understand if we don't want history to repeat itself. And so, of course, the book doesn't go down this rabbit hole that I'm talking about, but I wanted to scratch the surface of what the challenges can be for minority children to attend predominantly white spaces and the things that they need to be on the lookout for. And
Yeah, and you did touch base on that because even though yes, there is social commentary in there, there was like very important social commentary. It's like how social media is used, it can be used to rise a person and then tear that same person down.
right.
Or like you said, like in the school that where a black child may not feel like they're welcome, and then something goes wrong, they just immediately target them, like when Amir was falsely arrested, they were quick to like ask him to leave, like, listen, maybe it's best that you just go and do your we'll send you work virtually. And there was like a part where they said, oh, the teachers are can't be bothered with like giving him his work. I wanted to slap the teacher. I'm like, it's your job. That's your
I know. It's very it is so like you get angry. I love when people say that because you get angry about things because I have those same reactions as well. It's just like let's put this kid aside right now. He's going through something and we don't want this to disturb like what's happening here. And it's always guys as well, we're trying to protect Amir. Like we don't want him to have to be subjected to all this ridicule and judgment. Well, why don't you police the kids that are doing the ridicule and the judgment? Why is
exactly.
that not happening? And how often do we find our kids find themselves in those positions? And it can make them feel like hopeless and it gives them a very bleak outlook on the world, and which Amir did have. And I think
Mhm.
one of the most favorite scenes that I wrote was when the brothers had a really big flare up in the beginning when Amir was very frustrated that, when Amir talked about, when you get pulled over by a cop, what is your first thought? And Amir, screams at his brother, when I get pulled over by cops, I'm scared I'm gonna die. You don't even have that thought.
Mhm.
And you're just not the kind of black that I am. And to that, Marcel says, why does everything about the black identity have to be akin to struggle for me to
Yeah.
be actual black? That's problematic as well. And he said,
Mhm.
yes, I've gone to school, in predominantly white spaces. Yes, a lot of my friends are white, but let me tell you what I've learned from that. I've learned how the system works, how to fight against it, not to be hopeless. I learned what I need to do to be smart enough to play the game the same way they play the game. And there's value in that as well.
Mhm. And then also one of my favorite scenes, and it like leads into my to the next question, is like towards the end when Marcel and Quincy they all get the other teens together to go knocking door to door to try to find some kind of witness, someone. Well, they were looking for a specific
Yes.
person but they were, I know, I'm not, but they were shocked by someone else. Oh, they found someone else. But it was one of my favorite scenes because it was a group of teens coming together and like fighting, and they were fighting this injustice.
Yes.
They were trying to, even though Amir like ghosted them,
Yes.
they were like, you know what,
It's powerful.
we're gonna still come in for our boys, like we're gonna still do this.
It was
So
that was an important scene for me to
mhm,
show, for Marcel to see, to show community and how, especially for like minority communities, will come together and they rally around each other in the tough times, where Marcel had all of these friends that he grew up with, and they all turned on him the minute his brother was accused of murder. He wasn't found guilty, he was accused. Okay.
mhm,
And yes, it did look a little bleak for Amir, the way the circumstances were. But then you have these kids who, Amir, they knew Amir, they went to school with him because Amir went to public school first before he went to the private school. And all of these kids, they are there. They showed up for his brother to help his brother. There wasn't all this doubt. They didn't throw him away. Like you said, he had ghosted them, and they still showed up to be like, what can we do
mhm,
to get our friend out of this situation? And that
mhm,
was important. Like, that was very emotional for Marcel to be like, wow, this is what it's supposed to look like with friends. Like, they're supposed to be there for you. They're supposed to give you the benefit of the doubt. Um, and that was important for Marcel to see. I think that was an important thing for him to start. Because I think, a lot of times I love writing YA because I feel like when we were teenagers, that's when we really start to see the world for how it is.
mhm,
And you get those important lessons. And for Marcel, that was an important lesson for him to become a better young man as he
mhm.
continued to grow up.
and and that is like a perfect segue into my next questions, like what do you want teen readers to take away from this book, not only just having, a very compelling story, an exciting mystery, what other things like would you want young readers to take away from reading Wander in the Dark?
A lot. I think that because we've been talking about some heavy topics. For one, I want them to feel like they are the smartest kids in the room because they are. One of the reasons I love writing mysteries and thrillers is to write about Black teenagers who solve crimes, because so often that's just a predominantly white space. And
Mhm,
I grew up reading mystery novels, and I wanted to see kids that look like me be the
mhm,
smartest kids in the room, because we are. And I think subconsciously, when marginalized children are constantly reading stories where the only people that look like them are there to serve as white characters, you are subconsciously sending them a message that you should never be the center of the story. You're only here to service others. That's your only value. And I was tired of seeing that. I want them to read these books and go, you know what? Yes, I can go do this. I'm smart enough to do this. I can do that. That's what I want them to. One of the biggest joys since my first book came out was all of the Black girls who came up to me and was like, because I had a Black character, a female character in that one. And they was like, thank you. We finally get to solve mysteries. You
mhm,
know, that's important to me. Like, that's what I want them to get out of it. Secondly, I kind of want them to start realizing that, to be able to have some of those tough conversations, especially kids that are they have predominantly white friends. I know my nieces and nephews, they go to predominantly white schools, and I want them to get out of this mindset that they have to be okay with disrespect just to be friends with people. It's that you need to learn the tools to be able to call your friends out sometimes when they are doing things that are triggering,
mhm,
and realize that if your friends who are different from, and this is not even just white and Black, this could be anything, gay, straight, trans, whatever. If you have friends that are different from you and they feel that they can say triggering things, do disrespectful things because they're your friend, and it doesn't mean anything, they're not your friend. And you need to be able to start realizing that friendships are about learning from other people. It's about respecting other people. And most importantly, it is about getting different views of the world, because we all live in bubbles. That's nothing that no one should be ashamed of. No, not
mhm,
everyone is this cultured person that has that no one is. We all have those blind spots. And I think a lot of times I just want teenagers to be able to want to seek out those different voices and also to be able to have the courage and the knowledge to have like some of those tough conversations with their friends.
Mhm. You you touch like on like what was like the favorite, because when I was a teen or even a child, I loved reading mysteries. I loved reading Nancy Drew, and
Yes,
even though yeah, even though I love Nancy Drew, I was like, yeah, I would love to have someone who was like me solving those mysteries, and you never saw that.
you never saw it.
And we are seeing a surgeons, which I'm absolutely loving, like with your books, or like
Ace of
I don't know,
Spades.
I love Ace of Spades.
Yes. Yes, it's really, you would think that it was, I've said this a couple of times, that given that the criminal justice system in this country affects brown and black people very differently, you would think that we would dominate the thriller mystery genre because hello, we
Hmm.
would have characters who probably need to take justice in their own hands because either whether you are a suspect or a victim, when you are from a marginalized community, you are treated very differently by our justice system. So yes, it's more plausible that a black teenager may have to do some investigating on their own. I think one of the other things that is very, very, I find this very, very funny. Being a reporter that covered crime, this was something that was really shocking to me as well. So I don't really like fault people for this, but I think like shows like Law and Order and CSI have given people a false sense of how police work is done. Because everyone thinks DNA evidence solves everything. And I always have to throw water on it. Like, babe, I want you to go, I want you to go back, go through your local media outlets, look at all of the murders that have happened. I want you to go read articles about those murders, and I want you to count how many times DNA evidence led to an arrest. Actually, DNA evidence doesn't come in until like trials because it takes a long time to get DNA evidence. And people really don't start to realize this, and they start to really look at it and think about it. I didn't until I became a journalist and I realized, like, oh, okay. So a lot of police work is still like knocking on doors, talking to people, stalking social media accounts,
Yeah.
listening to conversations. Police have a little bit more power to get subpoenas and do searches. But I was like, teens can do this. Like, I can totally do this in a realistic way. The only thing with teens is you have to give them motivation. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, most teens are just caught up in their own world and like they're like, I don't have time to solve a crime. So you have to find a compelling reason to make this believable that they would do this. But I was like you. Like, I used to read like Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Encyclopedia Brown, and I was just like, these are great or whatever, and it's all I had. But I said these would look so different. They would feel different if there were black kids.
Hmm.
Because let's be honest, our experience is different. And that's not even, we don't have to talk about like you know, race or anything in a story. Just our Black experience, the way that we would respond to things is different and interesting, and it should be told. I always have this with my editors all the time because I have to, my characters have Black parents, and Black parents are different. Okay, you can't get away with some things. You can't get away with the same thing with Black parents that you can
No.
do with other parents. And so it's like I have to write within those confines. And that's interesting to me to be able to say, well, okay, like how would a black parent respond if they found their kid was doing, and I get to explore that so often in my books. Those are like, I love like scenes with parents because people don't understand. Black parents are like, especially black mamas, they're like, I think black mamas are just like from God. They have like they have see all, they know all, they could be the smallest woman in the world and they have the tallest son in the world, but you better believe they give you a look, to be silent because the world is about to shift.
No, I totally get that. Like Whitney and I were in a restaurant one time and we heard a black woman like it was a joke because it was like kind of like an insulting restaurant. Like the restaurant would give fake insults to the customers. It was like a theme of the place. But then we heard this black woman. She was like really going at it with this group of customers, and me and Whitney, we were triggered. We were like, oh my god, we want to go over there because we are like, oh my god, we're sorry, we don't know what happened. please just
Exactly.
don't stop yelling.
Exactly. They're a force from God, I'm telling you. And so I love having like all my black moms I have loved, probably except for the one in the first book. I kind of Nova's mom was problematic. But I love Amir's mom. I even love Marcel's mom. And um in my new book that I'm writing, I love the mom I'm writing about as well. It's just like I love this idea that women just they take mama bear very seriously. And so when they find out their kids are up to all these hijinks, especially like, there's a big scene in Wonder in the Dark when the parents kind of catch wind of what the boys have been up to.
Mhm,
There's this big scene like, y'all should have come to us. Like, what are y'all doing? Like
mhm.
this is how black parents will respond to this. Like, no, this is not okay, But I have to write to that because my editors are just like, well, why can't the kids just go off, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Black parents don't even allow you to close your bedroom door in their house. Nobody closes the door in this house unless they're paying the bills. Like this, it's
Exactly. Because it's like because you really, as a kid, when you're reading Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, you don't think of it. You're like, oh, these are kids, they're having adventures. But then as you grow up, you're like, wait, my parents would not let
would
me
not let
do
me
that.
do this. Exactly. Exactly. So I have to, it's really hard because I have to account for that. Like I have to account for, okay, well, why aren't the parents saying anything? Like, what would the parents say? Even if I have the children, maybe talk back or sass their parent or speak up, I always have some line where it's almost like, okay, look now, you got one more time and it's gonna be a problem, but that's what black parents would do. Like,
Yep. It's just like it's like you said, they have a look and you shut it down. It's like, I'm sorry, I did not.
exactly, exactly. So those I love having, both you find in most YA books, the writers will kill the parents off and just put them off somewhere because they want the kids to have the adventures, like you said. But so far, I've enjoyed having the parents in the mix. Like I think it adds a kind of tension that I love because I like you, I love the dynamics of family. I think they're the most interesting dynamics to explore as a writer because these are
Mhm,
people that have been thrust upon you and you have to deal with them. And there can be so many interesting, like, dynamics within that mother, son, brothers, sisters that I think is worth exploring a lot of times. And so far, my parents are like, they're right in the mix with the characters. So maybe one day I'll write a one where all the parents are dead and the kids are by themselves. It'll be freeing for me.
but I think it's like also it's very realistic because a lot of the YA thrillers I have read recently, they the parents are there. They're not like with like like Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys. They're just pushed aside, and
Right.
Nancy and the Hardy Boys are having the adventures. They're actually there. They're being parents. Either they're being supportive or maybe causing family drama, but they're there.
Yes.
And I think I appreciate them being there
Me too.
because
I do.
yeah, because it's like in this world, like whether they're like the biological parents or foster parents or even guardians, having that parental guard, like that figure right there in their life, it makes it real.
It does.
and and it just like and sometimes it motivates them,
Yes.
whether they're solving something or trying to fight an injustice. It's just like I think I like seeing them there instead of just like
Yeah.
saying, oh, the teens, it's their teens times. Like they can still have their time, but also have
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that having adults present in story in a prominent way doesn't take away from teen agency, which is what's
Mhm,
important in like a lot of YA books. And like you said, I think that having the parents there to talk to, the kids about like what's happening or getting their thoughts or maybe, pushing back against something that the kid is doing. I think it's a really great way to like really push a narrative forward or even to show your character like how they deal with adversity. I mean, there's no bigger adversity for a teen character than their parents because
mhm,
these are the people that can shut anything down with just a decision, And so I think that I am a person that will always be for leaning into those relationships and showing them more as much as you can show them. But I think that, like you said, in this genre that I'm writing in, you do want, if the parents just came in, they could probably do everything right and the mystery is solved or whatever. And it would be no fun. Like you still want it to be fun. You still want the kids to do all the heavy lifting. That's the point of the story, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so but I think it's just finding that delicate balance. I think it can be achieved. You just gotta kind of I going into my third book now, I'm kind of gotten a rhythm of how to do it. I maybe struggled with it in the beginning, like how do I keep these people on the page? But I think that for me, especially with Wonder in the Dark, it was really really easy, and I enjoyed every scene that I had the parents in. I mean, I enjoyed every single one of them. Like I would love those scenes. I relished in them. I had to cut some of those scenes down because they were too long. Like I just really love those relationships with with the boys, especially the boys and their mother, and especially Amir with his father.
That was also one of my favorite scenes. Like when they sat down, they had a conversation, and then his father realized that he loves to cook just as much as he does, and then they like have like kind of like a little competition. Like, okay, you said that you could cook better chicken than I can. Like, go ahead.
Yeah,
Here's
let's
the
see what you can
kitchen.
do. Yeah, I loved, I think that it was something that I had to learn even with my own father is that a lot of times we hold on to our anger with our parents. And I think at some point you have to kind of let stuff go. And, I think for Amir, a lot of this story is him realizing, okay, my dad wasn't there the way I wanted him to be for the first part of my life.
Mhm,
But he's here now. He wants to fix it. And do I want him to? And can he show up for me the way I need him to? And that was a fun thing to explore. I think it's so interesting because oftentimes we can also be upset with especially when we were younger, we can be upset with our parents, but you still, some part of you still wants that approval. You still want that love, and then you're upset when they don't give it to you the way you want them to. And I think
mhm,
that's what a lot of Amir was going through. And I think Marcel, his brother, saw that, and that was part of Marcel's journey in the book was trying to get Amir to just let the anger go for just a little bit. Like listen to dad, just give him a chance to talk. Tell him
mhm,
how you feel. I'm not saying that what he did was okay. I'm just saying just give him a chance, an opportunity,
mhm.
and just know that Amir, I know that he didn't show up for you the way he wanted to, but it wasn't because he doesn't love you.
Exactly.
And I think that's always important for kids to kind of understand,
Hmm. And it's like also important to see that kind of relationship in the books that they're reading. And it's like we said in the beginning, it's starting to you're seeing a surge in that,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
that's yeah, and it's like such a great thing that we are seeing. I can't believe it's almost like out of time.
Are you serious? Like, we were talking this long?
I know, right? It's like we were like having a great conversation. So I have two more questions, and
Okay.
then unfortunately, but and you did mention it a little bit, but do you have any other upcoming projects? Because I haven't read The Black Queen. I'm going to read The Black
Shame on
Queen.
you.
I got Wander in the Dark first, then then the Black, and then I will read The Black Queen. Even though it has been on my radar because I saw that cover, I was like, oh no, I gotta read this book.
Oh, wow.
So you have two books under your belt. Do you have any more upcoming projects that you are allowed to mention?
All I can say is I'm working on book three.
Okay.
I can't talk about it yet, but I'm working on it. There's
Well,
more
that
murder.
yay! Always love to hear from a mystery fan. Mystery fan always loves to like to hear there's more murder. I have more murder under my belt. Okay, so for the last question, so as librarians, we have to do what is called a book talk. It's not TikTok, book talking. It's like a short commercial pitch of the
Okay.
book and to encourage our patrons to check out the book out of our library collection. So we are going to turn the tables onto you. We do
Okay.
this with all of our special guest speakers, and we're going to ask you to do a 1 minute commercial pitch of Wander in the Dark to encourage people who are going to watch, who are in our audience, and also who are going to be watching this recording later on to go check out the book in our library. So whenever you are ready, you can go ahead.
Okay, let's try this. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, and I have nothing prepared, so I'm doing it off the top of my head, so we will see. Okay. So if you like murder, intrigue, mystery, and wild twists, why don't you check out my sophomore book, Wonder in the Dark? It is the story of Amir and Marcel Trudeau, estranged half-brothers who get caught up in the murder of the most popular girl at their high school. Amir is suspected of killing Chloe Danvers after hanging out with her on the last day of Mardi Gras in New Orleans. And the only person who believes he could be innocent after she's found dead the following morning is his half brother, Marcel. To find the truth, Marcel will have to dig into the secrets of their prestigious private school. And also, he's trying to repair the relationship, his fractured relationship with his half brother, Amir. Will he be able to do it? You'll only find out if you read the book.
Great. Thank you. That was great. You did wonderful.
And I did not. Like, that's on top of my head. I was like, oh.
No, I mean, that was wonderful. You could see, like, I could tell you like a lot of the craziest like book talks. Like one I feel like was like not the best, but like the funniest. One author just like showed his book to the camera. Like, you see this image? It was a comic book. He said, "You see this image? It's a closet. Do you want to know what's happening in the closet? You have to read the book." And that was
Oh, I
it.
should have thought of that. I didn't think grab a book. I didn't think of that at all. If you want to see what needs, there's these bloody footsteps on this cover. Read this book.
Oh my god. So Whitney, do you want me to yeah, it was James Tinian. James
Oh,
Tinian the fourth, yeah.
love it. Love it.
Oh, so thank you, Jumata. This is an amazing conversation. I can't believe the time went by so fast. I looked at the time, it's like it's almost 4:30. How
Oh
is that
no, I know.
happening?
This is so fun. Like this was so easy. Like you were such a great partner to have this talk with.
Oh, thank you so much. You go to the next slide, Whitney. So you see it, the Black Queen and Wander in the Dark. The Black Queen is in our collection already. It's available in print, ebook, and any audiobook. Wander in the Dark is still on order in the print format, but we do have it available digitally. I believe there are other readers who wanted to read it because it is recent. It is there are a lot of holes on it, so that's a good thing to know.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh wow, are you
yeah,
serious?
yeah. There are a lot of holes on
Oh, that's great.
it. So there, but they Wonder in the Dark, the print copy will be available in their collection, and you are able to put it on hold when it comes available. You can go to the next slide. And join us next week, where we be joined with Sade Lapite as we both talk about her YA Afro fantasy debut, Goddess Crown. I'm really excited about this one because that cover looks amazing. So that is will be next week, February 15th at 3 p.m. And I believe Whitney has put the registration link into the chat. So thank you, Jumana, so much. And thank you for everyone who has attended. We will be sending out the recording and all the links to the registrants. And also, if you stop by the Van Ness Library, if you will be able to pick up a free copy of The Black Queen in paperback edition. We are giving away free copies of The Black Queen. So make sure to stop by the Van Ness Library to pick up your copy today. Also, follow Jumata on social media. He's on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and also visit his website. And also take the time to follow us on social media. Highland Parkway Van Ness is available on Facebook and on Instagram. So if you be able to see more programs just like this, and you'll be able to register for that. So thank you, Jumata. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming this afternoon, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.